so I'm sure the hotel rooms are good too. We're going to try to maybe speed this up a little bit without abbreviating it too much and without giving the due attention that our honorees are so deserving of. All of our honorees, let me say, are educators or somehow involved with education, and most of them go back several decades for their involvement in education. Through their work in education, they've fought racism, they've fought for jobs for people, and they've fought for decent education. And I think if the film that we just saw is not inspiring, I don't know what would be. And I hope everybody goes out of here and pays attention to what's going on. Remember these fine honorees that have really dedicated their lives to public education, and not just public education, but seeing beyond the horizons of what a decent education means for children. It's a means of getting a job. It's a means of, probably even more important than that, a means of participating in what is supposed to be a democracy. You can't participate fully in a democracy if you don't know what's going on. And it's up to today's public educators to do that, and they are doing it they're really swimming upstream on this. But our honorees all are really good at swimming upstream. I'm sure they'd like to have a break from that and have things turn around and have education be funded the way it should be, for teachers to have everything that they need to be able to teach effectively, and for children to be able to come to school with food in their bellies, to have a roof over their head, to have parents that aren't working 2 or 3 jobs just to be able to provide them with the things that they need to live as human beings. We're going to go in alphabetical order. We did get a message from Ron Whitehorn that he was unable to come here from the Northeast. The roads were just too bad, so I'm just as glad he didn't risk himself, because he's an important part of the movement. I will say, since he's the last one, and he isn't here, I will say that he has been invaluable to the fight for public schools during this period. He's been active in the Occupy movement and active in pulling together the trade unionists that have been involved in that, as well as other people that are interested in jobs and decent wages for people. He worked in the 60s to form alternative schools to bring in the fight against racism to the curriculum. And I do remember reading at our letter that he wrote to the editor when that was first proposed, that African American history be a part of the curriculum in Philadelphia public schools. In high school, students are now required to have 1 semester of African American history, and from some parts of the public, there was some opposition to this. He wrote a very good letter to the editor of the Inquirer that I still remember it. I might not remember what I had for breakfast today, but I do remember this letter. My glasses are still here, right? I do remember he talked about how the African American history is about the struggle for democracy in this country. And I think I haven't heard truer words from anybody else, or from a few other people, I should say. A lot of people have been on the right track with that. So I will make sure he gets his certificate. And I will say about all of the educators too, that all of you see and they aren't so prominent anymore. They seem to be maybe kind of an embarrassment for the ultra-right, the Tea Party. They're certainly having their effect on certain people in Congress. They're scared to death of saying anything that would offend them. But I'm sure everybody would agree that they probably could have, that members of the Tea Party could have used some extra education in English, spelling, proper syntax, punctuation, and had they had, maybe had their teachers had the abilities that some of our teachers, educators have today, maybe they wouldn't have been such dunderheads, to refer to them in a nice term. So first I'd like Dennis Barnaby to step up while he's coming to the podium. I'll highlight some of his history. He was a member of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. I believe he was a building rep in several, a union steward in several buildings. He was really a untiring fighter for his students at school. He was part of the School Employees Action Caucus that was friendly, what do I want to say? Friendly, gave, I'm trying to say, the friendly opposition in the PFT. They did fight for a progressive contract, but they supported their union 100%. I'm sure you were one of the people that went to jail, and the one of many that went to jail during the strikes. And yeah, there's other people in the room, probably more people than I have fingers to count on for jail terms. He left teaching and continued to advocate for public education at Public Citizens for Children and Youth, and he's retired from that, and he's now working in his community. And we've all seen him around Germantown, those of us who lived in Germantown for years. And I want to say he was a great father, too. He had children, my children's age, and he was really knew what to do for kids. You know, his wife didn't have to tell him when it was time to change a diaper or do whatever. No offense to anybody else in this room, but I just wanted to add that as a personal note. So, Dennis, our People's World Mundo Popular pays tribute to Dennis Barnaby in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the labor, social justice, peace, and public school movements. Presented by the People's World Mundo Popular Banquet, December 8th, 2013.
Well, thank you, Diane. I can just sit down now. I know you don't want to hear a lot more talk, but and I have to say that when Dave Bell first asked me about doing this, I really said, you know, I really backed away from that big picture issue, which I was involved in for 40 years. You know, the big school funding fights, which, you know, thankfully people like Carol Kalimnik, who's here, and Ron Whitehorn just stayed in the middle of. When I left PCCY, working in their education area and really battling a lot of issues there, you know, left to take care of my wife Rebecca, who was sick at the time, and it just was time to do something different. I just couldn't deal with these people who just never got it around public education, and became more focused in local issues, trying to do change in a different way, which was healthy for me. But I just want to bring great accolades to those who have kept the bigger struggle in the forefront, because there could not be a more important struggle right now. We are really on a cusp of some dangerous times, and it would feel much better to me if I could come here saying, victory! Public schools are full funded, all kids are being treated equally after all these years of effort. Unfortunately, we're not in that position. So I especially appreciate those people who continue the big picture struggle, while those of us who are kind of looking at the small pieces now, trying to see what we can do to organize efforts around our local schools and local communities. There really isn't, I guess I have to say also, I was looking through some stuff recently, and I came across some old newsletters, which some people will recognize in this room. They really went back, to my surprise, so I just pulled out one, and I really was just at random. This is from a meeting in this is the rank and file. This is our School Employees Action Caucus newsletter in 1976. Notice it's on Mimeo. You know, this represents late nights, typing stencils, going to Scott Steckety's house in West Philly, running them off at midnight so we can get them in the mail, so people had them, and you know, it was a big deal that we kept this going. And it says other important issues were suggested. that include preventing the Board of Ed from making major layoffs of school employees, working to correct the misuse of Title I funds depriving students of needed subjects, the danger that the board is using back to basics schools as a ploy for eliminating programs. Sound familiar? Like art, music, and phys ed, together with the specialist teachers who teach them, working for a restoration of summer programs to provide meaningful activities for students and meaningful employment for teachers, and so on, working with the leadership to get them connected with the community. These are issues back in the 70s we were working on. In the 80s, here's another one, save early childhood. You know, so the issues are not new, they're very old, they stay with us. 1992, no money, but what are we going to do about it? 95, let's build a movement. 97, rescuing public education. So in some ways it feels like, are we ever going to get there? But it was funny, in the same drawer of all this other stuff that I was looking at, many of you remember Mark Stone, you know, who's of the previous generation of school activists. Well, he left me some stuff, and I haven't really looked at it before, but I just glanced at some of the stuff. 1951, look at Philadelphia. Here are the salaries for the major cities around the country, Philadelphia near the bottom. 1951 also, teachers, $900 short in 1951. So I guess the message is, this is not a struggle which probably will ever go away as long as we live in a system which allows the tyranny of the large corporations, to put it to the generic term, to have their way. We live in the richest country in the world. We've been saying this forever. The richest country in the world, and we can't afford schools for our kids. There is something seriously wrong with that. And why it is so hard to win that message, I don't understand. And there's a point at which you want to throw up your hands and say, I'm tired of trying to explain it. But we can't give up. It's really, really, really essential. My role at this point is a much smaller piece. I'm very active in our local community around a particular school. We're trying to get a schoolyard built. You know, this is a school with 800 kids. Our own kids went there. There's never been a play equipment. It's an empty schoolyard. And it's so obvious. Build a schoolyard. Let kids play. Have a good time. Obesity, greening, whatever. Yet, we're engaged in a struggle to raise money for our schoolyard. We want it to be a public space. We want it to be more than just a schoolyard, of course. So that's part connection. And Hansberry Garden, which Vicki is here as president of the garden, is engaged with helping that happen. But really, should we be doing this? Is this what we should be spending our time doing? These kids should have this. It's a necessity for everybody. But we are engaged in making sure that that necessity becomes an obvious thing for everybody. So whether it's been from, you know, the original, Rizzo took away the business tax back in the 70s. We fought against his campaign to be mayor for the third time. We said, no way. We were active in the desegregation issues, which was really important in the 70s, 80s especially, when there was still a question of what was going to happen around school desegregation. Through the strikes of the 70s and 80s, the anti-apartheid battles, which we got very involved in, and some of us were at national conventions where Al Shanker, president of our union, told us to shut up and sit down because we wanted the AFT to support boycotting South Africa, and he did not want to. So we have come through some struggles and won them. And history, as we say, has proven us right in the long run, and we cannot forget that. So, I'm sorry I've gone on too long, but you offered me the opportunity. I really, our good results, not getting the results we want, do not diminish from good efforts going into them. And we should never feel that we've wasted our time when we're working for those things that we know are just and right. So it's with that appeal and that consideration that I accept this award, and I look forward to many days in the future. My special thanks to my children who are here, and the fine little note they said in the program was very nice. The oldest one couldn't make it, he's in Maryland, but I'm happy they're here, and I appreciate them very much. And yes, it's wonderful being a father. So thank you very much. Oh, one more thing. Kelly Green, it's the John B. Kelly School we're working out with. We have a web page and a Facebook. Kelly Green Project. Like us on Facebook. Check us out, because we got some great stuff going on. We are generating love and support, because the bottom line of anything that I learned teaching is kids need to feel loved. And unless they do, we don't have a chance. We don't live in a society which encourages us to love our children. It's a battle. We're left on our own. So we're about helping us neighborhood to embrace a local school so that they do feel loved and cared for, in spite of whatever else they're dealing with, which is not pleasant. We want this to be a place that everybody cares about our kids who go there. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we have a society, a school system, a place that lets kids be loved. Thank you very much.